Okay, today we are going to make a side dish of honey glazed carrots. This is something that you could eat alone if you want, but it would really go well with some other parts of a course. So this would just be a side dish, but we are learning about roots, the part of the plant that you can eat, as we look for recipes with roots in them. Carrots is a common root that we eat, and the side dish of honey glazed carrots has some pretty basic ingredients. You have the carrots themselves, you have some honey, some butter, some brown sugar, some lemon juice, and some salt. And those ingredients combined together should make an excellent side dish of honey glazed carrots. Alright, let's go through some of the equipment you'll need in the kitchen. You're going to need a saucepan. You're going to need a pot. You're going to be cutting some things, so you'll obviously need a cutting board. Whenever you need a cutting board, you also need a towel underneath it. We'll be using our chef knife. We'll be using a peeler. We'll have our measuring spoons, a butter knife, a wooden spoon. We'll have a medium-sized bowl for our carrots, and then the rest of our ingredients that go into the side dish will be put into our smaller bowls. Okay, as we get started, you want to get started by measuring out the ingredients that you need for this recipe. And when you need butter, if you have a stick of butter, you can already have it pre-measured for you on the stick of butter, and all you have to do is cut where the line is to get the number of tablespoons that you need. In this case, we're going to need 4 tablespoons. So I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I would cut, and that would give me 4 tablespoons. If you have a tub of butter, a container of butter, you're going to have to measure it out with an actual measuring spoon, a tablespoon. But for us today, all we're going to have to do is take this right down here and come down on it, just like that. Alright, so there's our 4 tablespoons of butter. They're ready. I can put this back in the refrigerator. The next thing that it's calling for is a teaspoon of salt. So this is my container that I'm going to put my salt in. I want to go ahead and measure my salt. Remember, I want to measure more than I need. Then I'm going to simply level it off. And now I can put that into my little bowl here off to the side. And I can take the salt that's left here and I can go ahead and put that into the sink and down the drain. Now, the next thing it calls for is 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. So I get my brown sugar out. Brown sugar is a little sticky. It's a little wet to it. So when I do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tablespoon, I'm going to stick it into the bag, I'm going to compact as much as I can, and then I'm going to take the spoon. By the way, some things you should know about brown sugar. Brown sugar is actually worse for you than just plain white sugar. Brown sugar has the molasses in it and the sugar in it. When they take sugar cane and they refine it, they get the white sugar and then they get the molasses. And when they mix those back together, that's when you get brown sugar. And so for health purposes, I would say that brown sugar is probably worse than regular sugar, if there is such a thing as deciding which sugar is worse for you. But it's what gives it its sticky content. It's also what allows the sugar, for brown sugar, to be a dark brown sugar or a light brown sugar. That's all dependent on the amount of molasses that's mixed back in with the sugar. So we're going to need 3 tablespoons of it. So I'm going to try to compact it as much as I can in there with my hand, and then come across with the knife. And I'm going to take that and put that into my bowl. I need 3 of them. I'm just going to compact it in there. come across the top, make sure it's all packed in there, give it a little tap, and one more. Pack it in there, take my knife, come across the top, there we go, we got my 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, my salt, my butter. Let's see what we have left here. We need honey and lemon juice, so I'm going to do the tablespoon of lemon juice next. Remember, with lemon juice, you can go ahead and, because it's a liquid, you can measure it with the spoons. So I'm going to measure it over a bowl that I can allow some of it to roll over. As soon as it starts to roll over, bring it over, put it into the container that I want to use for my ingredients. Then the excess can be rinsed out of this bowl. And then last but not least, I have 4 tablespoons of honey. So here's my honey. Go ahead and measure out 4. And just like before, I want to measure it out over this bowl and then dump it in there. So measure it out till it's overflowing, and bring it over. Make sure all of it pours out the best you can. Do it again. Overflowing. Bring it over. There's 2. Flowing, pour it out, and I'm going to need one more. It's overflowing, bring it over here, set it in there. Now I've got the exact amount. And the last thing it calls for is 10 carrots. So I want to go ahead and open up my bag. I want to get out 10 carrots. This is going to serve about 5 or 6 people as a side dish. I have 11 here, so I'm going to go ahead and use all 11. But just about 10 is all you're going to need. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is prepare these carrots, and it starts with cutting the ends off of them. So remember, a carrot is a root plant where we eat the root. The top of the carrot here, sometimes you'll get them and they'll actually have the leaves and the stem coming out of them, and sometimes they don't. And this is the bottom or the tip of the root. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut the top and the bottom off just to get good clean cuts, and then we're going to peel them. So when you cut them, pinch technique with a knife, hold the carrot, rock chop on this carrot, come around to the other side, rock chop that, do the same thing for the rest. And we'll do this for the carrots, and then we'll go over and peel them. Okay, now with peeling the carrots, you have several choices. You can peel the carrots over a sink like I'm going to do here, or you can peel it over a garbage can, or you can peel it over the counter and then just collect all of the shavings and take them and put them into the garbage, or hopefully you have a compost bin at home. Any of those are the correct move. I wouldn't put them down my sink unless I have an incinerator or a garbage disposal, and even then I personally am not a fan of that, so I would avoid doing that unless your parents are okay with it. So with the hand that you would hold a knife with, you hold the peeler. With the hand that you don't write with, you're going to hold the carrot, and you're going to do just a simple motion away from your body, and and you're going to rotate the carrot, and you're just peeling off that epidermis, that skin on the exterior of the carrot. When you make it all the way across to the other side, then you're going to simply just do the same thing for the other side of the carrot. And we're going to do this to all the carrots. Next, we want to boil some water. You can see here that I've taken this pot and I've added water to just underneath the knots here that hold the handle, the screws that hold the handle here. Just underneath that, I've added cold water to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn this burner on to high as I can get it. I want that to boil, and I also want to add some salt, and that's what that teaspoon of salt's for. So I'm going to let this boil, and as soon as it's boiling, then I'll know it's time to put my carrots in there. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and slice up the carrots. We've already peeled them, we've already taken the ends of them off, so this is what it will look like, and your water is boiling. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Remember, pinch technique with the knife. We're going to hold the ingredients with the claw, and we're just going to do the tap chop. Okay, so this is a nice hard firm ingredient, so just come down on it. Try to keep them all about the same size. Alright, and then when we're done like this, we can take our bench scraper, we can just go ahead and dump them into our bowl here. I'm sure by now most of you know what boiling water looks like, but just in case you're unsure, boiling water is going to be having bubbles coming up. It's going to have a ripple along the surface, and you should see steam rising. This is boiling water. It's at the highest temperature you can get your burner to go, and when you're doing this, you want to be careful adding your carrots. So what I like to do is I like to take my wooden spoon, and I like to just come off to the side of it and just kind of start dumping them in. Try to keep it from splashing as much as possible. Now, if you get to a situation where you feel the water is too high, what this water is above these bolts here, and I don't like that, so I want to reduce the amount of water. Now, sometimes I get questions about salt in the water. And what the salt in the water is doing to the boiled water is the salt is adding flavor to the carrots. The salt water is going to open up the pores of the carrots, and it's going to allow those cells to release their natural flavors and allow them to taste better. You can boil your carrots in plain water, but it's going to add more flavor to your carrots if you put salt in the water, a salty water. Same thing with noodles. We boil our water in salt water instead of just plain water. It's going to add more flavor to it. So as these carrots boil, another question I get is, why honey glazed carrots for roots? Why not carrot cake? Everybody loves carrot cake. And I think basically we do the honey glazed carrots just to show you that there are different options with carrots and with roots, because when we do the garden harvest cake, it's got carrots in it, it's got zucchini in it, so this is just another recipe that you can put in your back pocket and use for another form of cooking fresh ingredients from your garden. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with the glaze while the carrots are boiling. So over here, I'm going to want to turn on this burner to the medium low to low heat. Now, I know it might be difficult for you to see, but high over here is number 6 on this heat. So I'm going to bump it down where 3 would be medium and 2 is a medium low, or right in the middle there between low and medium. So medium low, let your pan warm up a little bit, and as you let your pan warm up, you're going to melt the butter. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get the butter out, I want to put it onto the pan, and I'm going to go ahead and let that melt. So while we're making our glaze, the first thing we're doing is melting the butter, and as you can see here, my 4 tablespoons of butter are almost done melting. And so at this point, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to add my 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, and now my brown sugar, I'm going to go ahead and dissolve that into my butter. Now as my brown sugar has dissolved into my butter, you can see the consistency of the butter and the brown sugar. I'm going to go ahead and add the honey. Now I'm going to let the honey heat up and mix in with this brown sugar and butter. We have our butter, our brown sugar, and our honey that's all dissolved and mixed together into this glaze. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add the lemon juice. And now with the lemon juice, we're going to just kind of mix it around. And as we stir it around here, we're just going to wait for the carrots to get done, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the carrots to this glaze. As your timer goes off for 15 minutes and you want to check to see whether or not your carrots are almost done before you drain them, you're going to take a fork. You're just going to press on the side of a carrot and make sure that you can puncture it with the fork. If you can't puncture it with the fork, if you can't make a hole in it in order to pick it up, then it's not done yet, okay? So these carrots are about done, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and turn this off so it's done boiling, and then I'm going to take it over to the kitchen. Okay, over here at the kitchen sink, we have our strainer set down in our sink. We have our pot of boiling carrots here, so we're going to go ahead and just dump this in. We're going to let that drain off for a second. As we let that drain off, we're going to make sure we get as much of the water off of it as we can. Even give it a little shake, and then we're going to bring this back to our glaze. Okay, our glaze is ready. It's bubbling, it's caramelizing, and now what we're going to do is we're going to add the carrots to it and mix those carrots and coat them. So we're going to just simply carefully add the carrots, set the strainer off to the side, and now what you want to do is you want to get all of those carrots coated in that caramelized brown sugar, butter, lemon juice, honey, and you want it to kind of just turn into a sticky, slimy, gooey mess that coats all of your carrots. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that I have students make in the past is that while we're doing this recipe, they just put the carrots in and then they're done. And really what you should do is you should really let it cook for 2 to 3 minutes, sometimes even up to 5 minutes, because you want all of that goodness to coat these carrots. Okay, so your carrots have had some time to work their magic, get coated in this sugary goodness. You can even continue to let this cook off a little bit more if you want. It's still a bit runny, and that's going to be from the moisture from the carrots boiling, and then me not giving a lot of time in between putting them into the glaze. So when we're in class, we're short on time a lot of times, so we have to work quickly, and this is kind of what you get. But if you're at home, you can kind of let this cook longer. Another option is to take it out sooner of the boiling water. It'll be less cooked there in the boiling water, but then you can cook it longer in the glaze. There's a lot of different options, a lot of different things you can play with here, but this is going to make carrots tastes good if you like carrots. It's going to make them taste excellent like candy. If you don't like carrots, you gotta try them this way before you determine that you don't like carrots at all. They're covered in sugar and butter and honey and all the sweet stuff that you do like. So just give them a shot, see if you like them. If you like them already, here's another option that gets you more carrots in your diet. Alright?